Hello, good morning, and welcome to Daybreak on Trust TV. It's a beautiful Thursday morning out here, and we are here to bring you the very best of everything. I am Ibrahim Yusuf.
I am Sunday Michael. Indeed, the very best is what we'll serve you this morning. Please stay with us.
All right, well, we'll swing straight into action and take the headlines for this morning. As a Catholic, I am proud to lead APC's Muslim ticket campaign, says Lalong.
Interesting. Terrorists release children adopted on Kaduna-Abuja train.
Why General Irabo confused Kuje SKP for Owo attacker, says Akeredolu.
Bandit hit Ango Abdullahi's family again. Adopt daughter-in-law, 4 children.
All right, now the details. The Director General of the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Organization, Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State, said that he remains a staunch Catholic despite his decision to accept to lead the Muslim presidential ticket campaign. The governor said this on Wednesday while fielding questions from State House reporters after a closed-door meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. He said as a born, baptized and confirmed Catholic who has the highest award from the papacy as the Knight of St. Gregory the Great, the Pope has not told him that it is wrong for him to lead the Muslim presidential campaign team. Lalong said the Plateau State chapter of the Christian Association of Nigeria came to Yakubu Gowon Airport, Jos, to welcome him after his appointment as the APC presidential campaign DG. He therefore said that he was not sure where those who claim to be Christians but opposed his appointment as against their faith were coming from. He also distanced himself from the allegation that he lobbied to become the running mate of the APC presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu.
Ibrahim, I guess we have not heard the last of this.
I went by a long shot.
Yeah. And moving on, 4 of the children who were adopted on the Kaduna-bound train in March have been released. The children were adopted alongside their parents and other passengers when the terrorists bombed the train track and gunned down some persons. In a statement on Wednesday, Tukurmamu, Kaduna-based publisher who negotiated the release of some of the passengers, said the children and their parents were released after the intervention of Sheikh Ahmed Gumi. Different captives were released over a period of 4 months. The names of the 6 family members that were released are Abubakar Idris Garba, who is the father of the 4 kids, his wife Mariama Abubakar Bobo, and their eldest son Ibrahim Abubakar Garba, who is 10 years old. Others include Fatima Abubakar Garba, 7 years, Imran Abubakar Garba, 5 years old, and the youngest Zainab Garba, Abubakar Garba, who is only 1.5 years old.
All right, moving on. 1 month after Sadiq, one of the sons of the elder statesman, Ango Abdullahi, was released from captivity, bandits have abducted the daughter-in-law of the chairman, Northern Elders Forum. The elder statesman confirmed this to Daily Trust on Wednesday, saying the victim's 4 children were also abducted. Sources told Daily Trust that bandits invaded Yakawada village in Giwa local government area of Kaduna on Tuesday night and immediately stormed the residence of Alhaji Rilwanu Saidu, the village head. Daily Trust gathered that after abducting the village head's immediate family members, they also kidnapped some victims at the residence of the monarch's neighbor. 3 people who sustained injuries in the attack are said to be receiving treatment at the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital, Zaria.
Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State has cleared the air on a mix-up in the identity of the Kuje escapees. At a meeting with select media executives on Tuesday, Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabo has announced the arrest of the attackers of the St. Francis Catholic Church in Ondo State. The arrested suspects were listed as Idris Ojo, Jimoh Ibrahim, Idris Abdulmalik Omeza, also known as Ibn Malik, and Momo Abubakar, Aliyu Itopa, and Awal Onimisi. Meanwhile, Ojo escaped from Kuje prisons when the Islamic State in West Africa province, ISWAP, invaded the facility exactly 1 month after the Owo attack. However, Iraba was said to have listed Ojo among those arrested over the Owo attack. Clarifying the issue in a statement, Richard Olatunde, his spokesman, signed on his behalf, Akeredolu said the arrest of the escapees coincided with that of the church attackers, hence the mix-up.
Well, that's a wrap on the news headlines this morning. Sunday, even I know, and as much as we're actually happy and rejoicing at the fact that these children were actually released from captivity, you can't help but wonder the amount of trauma these kids actually have to go through.
I can't imagine it. That's an entire family.
An entire family, and the eldest is just 10 years old.
Yes, and to think that. A 1.5 years old had to endure that.
All that.
Length, the mosquitoes, the trauma, sleeping in the open,
exactly.
the cold.
It's really terrible. I mean, like, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a whole lot for them to get over something like this.
And I hope, well, this is a private citizen negotiating the release. We have not seen, maybe through the back channels, but we have not actively seen the government involved in the release of these people.
Exactly.
Whilst that may be, we hope that the government can at least come in at this point that they've been released to provide some kind of trauma counseling.
Serious trauma counseling.
I've seen full-blown, very healthy men come out looking completely emaciated.
Exactly.
And I'm wondering what would have happened to the 1.5 years.
And the PTSD lasts for years. And imagine in your formative years going through something like this. It's very difficult to shake off.
The parents would need counseling, and the children definitely would have to forget whatever happened here to be able to live out their manifest destiny. The states must have to come in at this point.
Yeah, well, we just hope that they actually land on their feet and find some measure of balance at the end of the day. All right, now moving on to our reports for this morning. Pioneer Non-Interest Bank and a leading financial service provider, Jais Bank, is seeking to sustain a partnership with Media Trust Group towards growing its business frontiers. Now, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the bank, Hassan Usman, led top management staff of the bank on a courtesy visit to the media outfit. Musa Luka reports.
The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Hassan Usman, said the courtesy visit was aimed at solidifying the relationship between the two institutions and to congratulate the management on their new appointment. He expressed satisfaction on the job of Media Trust in doing, especially being the eyes, voice, and the ears of the people.
From Jais, you have a partner, an institution that you also help to create, even if not as actively as you have created the Daily Trust TV, but also a contribution that we cherish in Jais. We also cherish your continuous patronage, because Daily Trust is one of our valued customers, as not just a shareholder, but a valued customer that patronizes the organization on a very continuous basis.
Mr. Hassan spoke on the bank's 10th anniversary, their journey as non-interest bank in Nigeria, and how it has contributed positively to the financial growth in the economy. Receiving the delegation, the management of Media Trust, led by the Group Chief Executive Officer Munir Gwarzo, appreciated Jais Bank for their visit and their services to the company, and assures the bank that Trust Media has strategized to satisfy the demands of their customers.
Even within the company, within the management, we have done some restructuring. Some strategic departments have been created to sharpen our service delivery. And that's why you see us now having a new logo, and very soon we're going to be having a lot of adverts. We want to continue to be partners with you, and we want to play a very important role in your anniversary.
Usman also explained that the bank is dedicated toward financing some major sectors in the country that can boost the economy of the nation.
We've been financing many sectors, including housing, delivery, agriculture, commerce, and manufacturing. Sectors that are very, very important to the growth of the economy.
The Group Chief Executive Officer assures the bank of the company's full support and hope to work closely with the bank toward improving the economy. Musa Luka, Trust TV News, Abuja.
There you go. As terrorists advanced towards areas that were hitherto peaceful, modifying tactics and strategies, Hinkia residents want government to adopt new measures in fighting criminality. This is coming few days after terrorist attack Kankia town, where they separately adopted a housewife and 2 children from the community. Trust TV Abdullahi Yamadi reports.
Kankia town is the headquarters of Kankia local government area of Katsina State. Terrorists bearing dangerous weapons stormed by Kinkaswa Kankia around 2:45 a.m. on Sunday, smashing walls to gain access into houses of their victims. 3 persons who are still in captivity were abducted during that raid on Sunday night. The terrorists were said to have operated freely for over an hour without any response from security operatives despite distress calls put through to them by the residents.
Suka zo suka balla wancan kohoi suka shiga inda mai daki na take uwa gidan wanda suka da ita.
It was horrifying the way they forced themselves into my house. When I noticed their presence, I scaled my house fence to escape, but they abducted my first wife. The terrorists used diggers to break through the wall of my house to gain access.
Ba waya na fara kiran wanda na ji switch off. Dama dai na dai ina ta'adda Allah ubangiji ya kubutar da su.
Though there were a series of abductions for ransom and armed robbery cases in the past, the number of attacks in Kankia town have been minimal compared to other neighboring local government areas. Unlike other communities affected by terrorist attacks, Kankia residents are determined not to flee their ancestral homes for the fear of other attacks. They are promising to be more organized to assist security operatives to confront the terrorists head-on. The attackers caught us unaware. Many residents were scared upon hearing sporadic gunshots that night. I couldn't sleep throughout that night because of the fear of attack. Worried by the situation, stakeholders here are saying the well-coordinated attack wouldn't have been successful without credible information from informants. However, authorities are saying they are taking steps to forestall reoccurrence of the ugly attack.
You see, even in that Kankia attack, it's not that our men were not there. We went there, in this fight we are planning, we have come with formidable strategies in dealing with this new modus operandi, which I will not say it here.
As at the time of compiling this report, the suspected terrorists have started contacting families of the abductees, demanding for ransom to secure their release. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Now, taxi drivers and traders at the Rigasa railway station want government to hasten the rescue of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack victims to enable train service to resume. Now, they said the suspension of the train services resulted in the loss of many jobs, as many families now find it difficult to survive. The report.
This place used to be very busy with passengers, traders, and taxi drivers. But for over months now, the place has been deserted and many jobs lost due to the suspension of train service by the Nigerian Railway Corporation after terrorists attacked Kaduna-Abuja train, abducted many, and killed some. Taxi drivers who convey arriving passengers from the station to different destinations are almost idle as patronage has fallen to almost zero level. The suspension of train services has paralyzed our business here. We are in hardship. Some of us had to relocate to other places in search of jobs. The place is deserted as no business activity is taking place. We find it difficult to get food as there are no passengers to convey. Yakubu Abubakar is a tea and bread seller at the Rigasa railway station. He once employed 6 people prior to the suspension of train services, but now he can barely cater for his family. About 95% of traders left this place, although some people do come here to while away time and go back home. I used to have 6 people that helped me manage my business, but now I manage it alone because I can't pay them. They have to leave. They appeal to the government to hasten the rescue of the remaining train-attacked passengers and secure the train route to enable train service to resume so that their businesses can bounce back. We want the government to make more effort in bringing back the train service so that our business will bounce back. We appeal to the government to save our source of livelihood by bringing back the train service and also rescue the remaining victims still in captivity. We appeal to the government to devise means of negotiating with the abductors of the train passengers so that our business will revamp. The resumption of train service is expected to rekindle hopes in many households at Pigasa community and beyond, as business activities will be revamped. Bella Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Nigerians are clearly caught between the devil and the deep blue sea there, yearning for the train services to return to ameliorate the sufferings and the dangers of people who ply the Kaduna-Abuja Expressway. On the other hand, there are families from among countrymen that are still being held hostage under very pitiful conditions. And so we are lost at what to want. Of course, we desire the safety of those families, but there's so much more to be done with the trains, as we can see clearly that the impact is not just on the stoppage of the services, but also other ancillary services that depend on the running of those trains to meet their daily bread, most especially at a time when we are facing so much economic headwinds. And moving on, floods have rendered many homeless in Dawakin Kudung local government area of Kano State. More than 6,000 persons have been displaced by flood in the state. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin reports from one of the villages with devastating effects of the flood.
For the past 35 years, the people of Shuawa village in Dawakin Kudu local government area of Kano State have been living in fear of losing their homes, especially during rainy season. They lack proper drainage and waterways to prevent heavy downpour from overpowering their mud houses. The people built this retaining wall so that the water will be able to pass through here, behind their houses. Unfortunately, it overpowers them and entered the houses. So as I'm talking to you now, all their houses in this village have been touched by this flood disaster. In fact, there is no single house in this village that was not affected by the flood disaster in one way or the other. And any more heavy rainfall may likely destroy this entire community. Shehu Sani and several others are now coming to terms with the destruction caused by the recent flood and windstorm. We have never seen this type of disaster throughout our lives. It's a kind of lesson to us because I lost everything from my clothes, food items, and many other property. Virtually all their houses in this village were affected. The people are now seeking refuge in a nearby mosque and villages. They say their food items are gone, farmland destroyed, and properties worth millions of naira lost. Our major problem is the lack of drainage system. Before now, the drainage allows us to control the flood, but over time, it has gone. Now you can see that we have lost everything in this village. We have no place to settle our family at the moment. According to a recent report by the Kano State Emergency Management Agency, a total of 6,417 people were displaced across Kano State, and that effort is ongoing to provide relief materials to the affected victims.
Items we brought is rice, beans, mattress, cement, zinc nail, vegetable oil, pillows, and other items which we handed over to the chairman, local emergency management committee of the local government to distribute it to these 4 victims.
For the people of these communities, the hardship caused by the flood is unbearable, and that unless something is done to assist them, they may have nowhere else to stay. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And moving on to politics now. As the 2023 general election approaches, youth have been charged to abstain from all forms of immoral behavior. Now, instead, stakeholders urge them to take responsibility of building a prosperous Nigeria by electing leaders with proven integrity who will bring the expected development. From Yola, Salis Lawan reports.
The countdown is well underway for what will be the 7th general elections since the return to democracy in 1999. This represented 23 years of unbroken democracy, the longest period in the country's history. However, stakeholders are calling on youth to desist from being used as political targets by unscrupulous politicians for their selfish gains. They said now is the time for far-reaching sensitization campaigns to educate electorates on the importance of exercising their franchise in an honest manner, shunning violence.
But I'm happy today that people have realized money politics will take us nowhere. They have deliberately commercialized the political process so that people like me, you and others who has the knowledge, the experience, the integrity not to participate. Today, we are talking to ourselves. We are talking to ourselves directly. What is our problem? And what are the solutions? Our problem is to get the right people there, even if they don't even have the resources. You know, integrity is more than money. If today you elect somebody because you are believe in him, that yes, this man has the knowledge, this man has the experience, he is a very good person, he has been tested and trusted, he is a man of integrity, then I believe we will be there.
On their parts, the youth stressed the importance of education in any country. They said for any country to develop, there has to be a good system of education in place. Therefore, they call on the leaders to give priority to education.
We have realized our mistakes as youths in this country. Look at our universities, closed for over 5 months. Actually, we suffered more than ever. 2023 election, we must ensure that Nigeria get it right by voting those who we believe will squarely address challenges and bring the needed development of the country.
I'm calling on my fellow youths to avoid being misused by some politicians as their political dogs, because it is obvious they only use us and dump after election, whereas we suffer, they enjoy alone with their loved ones.
Nigeria may be celebrating its longest run of uninterrupted democracy. However, stakeholders believed that choosing competence and integrity will give the nation the desired outcome. From Yola, Salis Lawan, Trust TV News.
Now that is a wrap on reports this morning. We will take a short breather. When we return, the show continue. Please stay with us.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children, protect them, from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
But in a situation where you find that you look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
Welcome back. It's still Daybreak on Trust TV. Now we're going straight to look at the headlines of the major dailies this morning, and we're going to start with the Daily Trust newspaper. Carries this major headline on the front page: Pope not against my Tinubu's campaign DG offer, says Lalong. It comes with a kicker Muslim ticket. And riders here that says Shetima's selection is not a religious affair, and Obi supporters defaming me, says Tinubu. It's not true, says the Labour Party presidential candidate. Other stories here, still talking about 2023. Sultan Khan signed pact to de-escalate religious tension. And story is on page 25. Early signs show tight Kenyan presidential election. That's on page 5 of the Daily Trust. Moving to the top of the page, you find Buhari supports regulator, backs down on Seplat's purchase of ExxonMobil assets. And how Kaduna Scholarship Loan Scheme is changing indigent students' lives. Details of that on page 24. Jais Bank grows balance sheet to over 300 billion. That is on page 19. And coming down back to the bottom of the page again, 109 billion naira fraud. Ex-Accountant General Idris seeks plea bargain. Details of that on page 4. And Darie to run for Senate after prison release. That is on page 25. Now, these are the major headlines on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper.
Moving on to the Vanguard newspaper. The major headline on the Vanguard newspaper here says, tension in PDP as crisis worsen. Elders weigh options. It has the Riders Campaign Council to be unveiled within 2 weeks in Abuja. Substantial progress is being made, according to Atiku's camp. We will resolve crisis soon, PDP leader. Ayu should resign honorably. Bode George urges Wike not to jump ship. Wike, a one-man balancing force, according to Mimiko. We have other stories there. 2023, Sultan Khan signs peace pact. Mobile assets, Buhari withdraw consent over $1.3 billion oil deal. And down there we have Obi Tinubu in war of words over fake news allegation. We have others such as drama as motorists, commuters chase traffic robbers on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And Flutterwave raised staff size by 200, names new chief, people and culture officer. These are the major headlines on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
The next newspaper we're looking at is the Daily Sun newspaper, which carries this major headline on the front page. NAF bombs terrorist base, kills kingpin, 17 others. And it comes with the riders, rescues 26 hostages in Kaduna, 6 family members of ex-military governor, 60-year-old lady kidnapped in Kaduna train attack, regain freedom. And another headline on the front page of the Daily Sun, ASU, civil society groups ask NLC, TUC to begin mobilization for general strike. And the rider here that says decries FG's failure to resolve unions' demands within 2 weeks. Talking about politics, pressure mounts on Ayu to quit as PDP chair, and it carries the riders, you must keep your word, Bode George tells him, and he must go, says representatives. Party can't waive rule for one member, says Baraji. And that's on page 6 of the Daily Sun. Muslim ticket. Pope hasn't told me to reject DG appointment, says Lalong. And drug war, DPO 60 others bag jail term for drug trafficking in Niger. Now, these are the major headlines on the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper this morning.
And moving on to the Nation newspaper this morning, a quick one on the front page. PDP crisis, why Ayu must quit now by ex-party chair. Bode George, chairman, candidate can't come from one zone. And more from the headlines, we have EFCC to try 3 officials for all train pardon list. Well, and NSCIA can sign 2023 peace pact. Train attack, terrorists free family of 6 hostages. Rein in your supporters, Tinubu Campaign Council tells Obi. And we have more there. I think these are the major headlines on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
The next newspaper we're looking at this morning is the Nigerian Tribune, and it carries this major headline. Fear grips PDP leaders over worsening Atiku-Wike feud. And right here, Rivers Governor's sacrifice made PDP strong opposition party, says Mimiko. Bandits relieved 7 more kidnapped train passengers, and suspended Accountant General Idris seeks plea bargain in 109 billion naira fraud case. At the top of the front page there, you find Buhari reverses approval for Seplat to buy ExxonMobil shares, supports NUPRC, and bandits abduct Anbugo Abdullah, his daughter-in-law, and 4 grandchildren in Kaduna. Idris Ojo, Kuje prison escapee, not one of the suspected or church attackers, says Akeredolu, and DHQ make a clarification. Flutterwave announces new Chief People and Culture Officer, increased staff size by 200. Now, these are the major headlines on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune.
And moving on to the Guardian newspaper this morning, the major headlines, it's presidency turn of South despite religion, Akeredolu insists. Lalong, Pope hasn't opposed my DG appointment, proud to lead APC's Muslim ticket campaign as a Catholic. Resign as VP candidate to save APC from embarrassing defeat. Middlebelt Congress tells Shatima. And Lalong appointment as Tinubu's campaign DG, political miscalculation, says group. And we have photographs there of the family that were released yesterday. And one of the major stories also on the front page there reads, PDP party elders move to constitute campaign team, seek patience to end crisis. And we have other stories there, as Igbo youth ask promoters of Tinubu to keep off Southeast. And government will not borrow 1.1 trillion to meet ASU's demand, says Umahi. These are the major stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper.
And that's a wrap on the look at the front pages of the papers this morning. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll go straight into the review with our reviewer this morning. So do stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that a look at the
not necessarily tribal or regional.
Welcome back, and this is Daybreak on Trust TV. So we're going straight into the review of the headlines on the newspaper front pages that we just looked at. And right here in the studio, we have the editor-in-chief of Dateline Nigeria, Nasir Lawal, in the studio to help us analyze these headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Yes, always nice to have you here. All right, so let's get straight to it. One of the major stories that we actually saw across newspapers this morning is the campaign DG of the APC presidential campaign making a bold statement, bringing the papacy into the whole situation. And what's your take on the whole situation about people? He is actually trying to justify his taking up the campaign DG position on a Muslim ticket, while he's still saying that is not an indictment on his Christianity and his own religion and his own beliefs. And that has gone as far as saying that even the Pope does not oppose it. So what's your take on the entire situation?
Well, I think he's trying to do so many things at the same time with the statement that he's making. But this is more of a personal affair. I don't know why he's like bringing the papacy into it. Probably he's trying to tell some of the people that are against the Muslim ticket that actually you cannot be more Catholic than the Pope. But like I said, this is about a personal decision When he decided to run for the governor of Plateau State, I am not sure he waited for the papacy to give him direction along that line.
Exactly.
So even the same thing with this. If it is something that you think you cannot do, probably he wouldn't have taken it. But since he has agreed to take up the assignment, then he will look for all the excuses in this world to try to justify them, and that's only natural.
But do you think making statements like this can turn out to be counterproductive?
Well, in a way, because it's unfortunate that in the run-up to the 2023 elections, we are still not talking about the issues. We are still being bogged down by all the issues that we shouldn't be talking about. I'm not saying they are not important, but honestly, we shouldn't be like focusing on them, because when we do that, we tend to miss out on the most important issues. Even though Nigeria is being looked at primarily, you know, along maybe the north versus the south, Muslim versus Christians. Honestly, I don't think that should be the case, because what happens, what are your plans? What are the things that you are telling Nigerians that when you vote us into power, these are the things that we will do? This is what Nigerians are actually interested in, not about, because in any case, we have already known that the one of the parties is fielding a Muslim ticket. Others are not doing the same thing. So it's like... yeah, so it's already given.
Interesting. Another story we saw making most of the headline was the decision of the presidency yesterday to back out on what appears to be an earlier consent on the Seplat ExxonMobil deal. I mean, we saw the mess that was made with that deal, with people finding back channels to the presidency to get approval, whereas there are statutory institutions that are supposed to do those evaluations and provide approval. Now the president has taken a very bold step to counter a position that he had earlier taken. What do you think this signals for governance in Nigeria?
Well, I think it's an important move by the president, even though it was not a good one for him in the first place, because it means there is breakdown of communication somewhere, because the president should have known that the commission is actually an independent commission, it's autonomous, they have like the final say on issues such as this. But I will also blame the system, which in any case is also headed by the president. Being the Minister of Petroleum in this case, he should have done the needful, you know, consult and all that before taking the decision. But it's actually good that he's now going back on his words, because, you know, Nigerians really and the big man thing that we sometimes he may think, okay, since I have already said it, there is no going back on it. And I think institutions like the CBN should also learn from this. When you have autonomy, you try to exert it, you know, so that you are allowed to do, because in any case, it's your own name that will be people will be making a reference over.
But beyond the president reversing himself, if we could establish clearly that people have deliberately misled the president, shouldn't there be consequence for?
Certainly there must be, because if you allow something like this to happen, to go unpunished, then we should just be waiting for a repeat, because people are just there, you know, waiting for a chance to get one or two things out of the system. So unless you punish this, people want to continue making the same mistakes.
All right. Well, one of the stories that actually is making the rounds right now is the recent release of some more abducted passengers from the Kaduna-Abuja train attack, and the family that was actually taken. A lot of people's attention was drawn to the fact that these children were actually kept and held in captivity all this while. So there's a collective sigh of relief when they eventually were released. I just want to get your general view on this release. Has been done piecemeal, and just like Sunday pointed out earlier, you have a private citizen that is mediating and negotiating on behalf of the families and then getting these people out. And the government is actually not visible. We believe maybe that there's some back channeling going on. But generally, what is your general take on how the situation has been handled on the government side of things?
Well, I will want to first of all congratulate the family members, that have been released. You can actually imagine the trauma, what they had to go through, while in captivity. And unfortunately, in Nigeria, we don't pay attention to things like therapy and what have you, because unless we do that, we'll be sending the wrong messages to all these little kids, because some of them may start believing that this is normal, this is like a usual occurrence, and there is nothing wrong with it. And the fact that we have like splashed their photos all over the place, I also see them maybe facing one or two cases of stigma from people, when they go back to school. I will not be surprised if some of their colleagues, will want to be like, make a reference to that, which will not be very good. But we are talking about the government's role here. Honestly, the government, well, maybe like you said, there are maybe some back channeling going on, but we have not been seeing it, and the government should actually come out to give us the confidence that it's actually on top of this situation, so that those who are still in captivity, will be given some hope that yes, we are also on our way out. But the government right now, I don't know, maybe it's also fatigued because we can't really see the effort that the government is actually putting.
But can the government afford to be fatigued in kind of situations?
Certainly they can't, because they have a responsibility.
Exactly.
Because if they had done the needful, probably we wouldn't be talking about this, because if there was security in the first place, we wouldn't have been talking about the abduction ab initio. So the government should actually wake up and play its role, because it's a responsibility that it has, and it has to play it.
Interesting. When you were talking there, I was having goosebumps because of my personal experience with incidences like this. But that is, by the way, another story also on the part of security that seemed to have made most of the headlines was also the issue of the attackers that were seen to have been arrested. The chief of defense staff has given us names that does appear to be synonymous with the names on the list of the wanted persons from Kuje, an attack that happened 1 month apart, after the Owa incidents. And Nigerians were wondering, did they leave Owa and jump into Kuje prisons? And now the governor is saying there was a mix-up on the list. I mean, is it the governor that should be clarifying this, or even the defense? Because you have these guys you have arrested, you debriefed them, and you briefed the media. How in heaven's name are you mixing the names with names that were released by another department of government, which is the Correctional Service, that has nothing to do with your database? Well, you may share intelligence, but you don't exactly keep those names. You caught people, spoke to them, debriefed them, took records, only to come to the public space and give us names of people who are on the wanted list. Does this explanation by the governor, suffices for you as a citizen?
Well, I actually blame the media for mixing up the issues, because from what I read, that's the version reported by the news agency of Nigeria. It was clear, the chief of defense staff was actually talking about the successes that they recorded, one of which was the arrest of, I think, Ojo, who escaped from Kuje prison. But he was arrested along with some of the members, that were being blamed for the Owo attack. So their names were given in the same breath. And rather than separating the circumstance, we ended up just modeling everything and then saying the guy that left Kuje was and even the governor had to come out to say, no, the Ojo guy is not part of the Owo attack. He was only arrested when the others were also being arrested.
Yeah, well, you see, a lot of people have a problem with sometimes the way the military actually projects itself on the media. They're trying not, we don't have their own versions of stories. Usually they come out, they say, you reported this, this is not true, or why should you be reporting this? When they don't have their own version out there, they're not interfacing with the media the way it's supposed to be. A lot of people actually believe that this clarification should not be coming from the governor. It should be coming from the DHQ because the story came out from them. So what is your impression on how the DHQ now, or the military in general, is handling the media aspect of this war on insecurity, because it is part of it?
Yeah. Well, you know, the governor actually wanted to latch on the announcement by the DHQ to also like show his people that he is also on top of it, that actually what they said is true, and this is even what I know of it. But like you rightly said, honestly, the way the military is interfacing with the media, you know, it's not in a way that you will expect, because we are like partners in progress. And the problem of not telling your own story is some people will tell it on your behalf. And they may not be able to know exactly the details that you will want out there. You can see anytime they want to appoint a spokesperson, you know, they don't care about the background, whether you have a communication background. They see it as a regimental posting, and they do that. And without appointing people that actually know the workings of the media, things like this will continue to happen. And it will be to the disadvantage of the DHQ, because how will you feel when you are doing your best, but then there is nobody to actually project that, to show that you are actually doing your best?
It's unfortunate. We borrow all sorts of things, including structures, from some of the finest places in the world: Sandhurst, India, the National War College in the US. I don't know why we don't borrow everything. We sort of borrow what we are confident of, because these institutions have some of the finest school of communications, finest. You know, whether it is in propaganda or even balancing narratives or taking advantage of narratives. And you just allow things to go sour, and you come back with explanations that in themselves don't sort of tie in. We have seen the military in special operations outside these climes take journalists along under some kind of protective custody, so that you report firsthand what you have seen, successes that. But in this case, we just see vehicles traveling through vegetations, and then they tell us 30 have been killed, 50 have been. It creates, for so much doubt, especially in the face of the number of times they had to kill Shekau, and how many times they told us the war had ended, that these people have no capacity for fantastic attack, and only the next day they go out and carry out something even more audacious than the last one. But away from this, we saw the Sultan and Khan sign a peace pact to de-escalate religious tension. And the early signs are already there in very dangerous dimensions, if you like. Is it just about Khan and the religious leaders? I was thinking some kind of arrangements that will bring in even the political players actively into this arrangement would have made more meaning, because for the people who genuinely love this country, they've always signed this pact. But every time the politicians go out, the things they say, can only set this country on fire. How else can we expand this kind of effort so that everyone is brought on board?
Well, I don't even know why we tend to bring the Supreme Council of for Islamic Affairs and the Christian Association of Nigeria into things like this. I'm not saying that they don't have any role to play. But are we like trying to hold them responsible for the actions of politicians, and even themselves that are coming out to sign all these pacts? Are they like saying we are doing it on behalf of politicians, that happen to be members of our own faith? That's one thing we should get clear. This is about politicians, and it doesn't matter whether they are Christians or Muslims. And the tension, they are actually the ones that are stoking the tension. So why should the religious bodies be the ones talking about this? The politicians, like I said, should come out and give us their words, and then we find a way of holding them responsible to what they say. But to just bring in all the religion, maybe because they're easy to get, and honestly, and maybe they also see it as maybe be relevant,
yes,
you know,
that,
but honestly, I think they should begin to maybe they emphasize their role in issues like this. They have a role to play, yes, but not along the way we are bringing them in.
But generally, I mean, like in the run-up to this particular election that we're talking about, generally, do you think politicians are actually doing enough to douse tensions? Because right now, for the past couple of weeks and days, there's this back and forth between two presidential aspirants about control your people. Your people are abusing me. They are making a mockery of me. Tell them to stop it, and all that. How much power or how much influence does a politician actually have on what his supporters do or don't do? And are they doing enough to sort of, let's say, control what happens, what their supporters do?
Well, again, you may not be like 100% responsible for the actions of your supporters. But when you come out to say, don't do this on my behalf. If you do this, know that I'm not with you. If you are able to do that, at least people will be able to separate, you know, the action, some of the actions of your supporters and your own actions. But what the problem we are having, people are afraid. The politicians are scared of coming out to talk because they don't want to lose their supporters. So that's like the problem we are having. And if you are talking about tension, you know, politicians being politicians, if it serves them, they will continue stoking the tension.
True.
Because what they want is to
win the election at all costs.
Not to see whether the nation is... Because you can see all over the papers, some are saying we are facing existential threat. The former president coming out to say that if we miss this opportunity, you know, in 2023, you know, we will be finished and all that. Politicians know all this, but they are still running for offices because why? They know that by the time they get into offices, the stories will change. So if you see them stoking all this tension, it's because maybe it's serving their purpose. But honestly, they should be out and about. They should be clear. Any issue that has to do with violence, they should be able to come out to denounce that and things like that.
Before we let you go, one last story that also seems to have made most of the headlines. It's about the Accountant General on the purported $1.9 billion theft. Now he's seeking for plea again. I mean, he seemed to want to go the ways of several others before him. Are we not cheapening the whole concept of a plea again? You go in, take as much as you can, enter into a plea again, remit some, and then go back and enjoy your loot. Isn't that what this is looking at?
Well, my understanding is you shouldn't be the one, you know,
requesting for that.
Requesting for that. And the government should also weigh its options. You know, what's the possibility of securing a conviction? You know, and then how much is like willing to because the plea bargain thing is for you to like agree to plead guilty, and then in maybe a return for a lighter sentence or something like that. So the government should weigh its options. Can we prosecute this to a logical conclusion? If we can do that, fine, because probably we may get to recover more. But with the plea bargain, maybe he will just be returning some
part of it,
and he will be getting,
and then keeping that, and before you know it, in the next
election cycle,
he might come out and start running for senator,
or getting a sent forth from the prison as we saw with the other governors.
And you can see even his supporters are already, you know, all over the place trying to show that the man is good. He has helped so many people, but if in the course of helping people, he has like gone against the law, then he should be prosecuted for it.
Amazing perspective there from Nigeria. I was just reading something to Ibrahim earlier, and one of the arguments for Darius' release was that they said he was too sick to serve his jail sentence, and somebody said, but he wasn't too sick to contest for the Senate of the Federal Republic. Very interesting perspective there coming from Nasri Lawal, the editor-in-chief, Dateline Newspapers. If you had missed out on that conversation, you can catch up on YouTube, another social media handle of Trust Television. It's been a pleasure having you in the studio, provide those deep insight on the issues making the front page of the papers this morning.
Thank you.
We hope to have you again soon, looking at other issues and positively looking at issues indeed that would raise the hope of Nigeria rather than put us in the state where we are. This is where we will draw the curtain on this section. We will take a short break. When we return, the show continues. Please stay with us. Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Daybreak on Trust Television. It's 8 a.m. in the morning. If you're just joining us, the flight took off over an hour ago. It's been a pleasure to have you join us this morning. I am Sunday Michael Ogu.
As always, it's a pleasure to have you on Daybreak on Trust TV. I am Ibrahim Yusuf.
Lots of interesting things to look at this morning. We have had a very insightful conversation around issues that have made the front pages of the papers this morning, from Lalong to the DHQ clarifying on the names of people that were arrested on the Owa attack, to the play again by the Accountant General. Quite a number of issues that seem to have made the front pages of the newspaper this morning. The trend will continue on the second half of the show, and you can be sure that we will serve you quite a number of delightful events around our polity. And to start with, we will take the headlines this morning. As a Catholic, I am proud to lead the APC Muslim ticket, and that is according to Lalong. Terrorists release children adopted on the Kaduna-Abuja train. The second headline there. And also we have bandit hit Ango Abdullahi's family again, adopt daughter-in-law. And moving on to the details of the story, the Director General of the All Progressive Congress Presidential Campaign Organization, Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State, has said that he remains a staunch Catholic despite his decision to accept to lead the Muslim presidential ticket campaign. The governor said this Wednesday while fielding questions from the State House reporters after a closed door with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa in Abuja. He said, as a born, baptized and confirmed Catholic who has the highest award from the papacy, Knight of St. Gregory the Great, the Pope has not told him that it is wrong for him to lead the Muslim presidential campaign team. Lalong said the Plateau State chapter of the Christian Association of Nigeria came to the Yakubu Gowon Airport just to welcome him after the appointment as the APC presidential campaign DG. He therefore said that it was not sure where those who claimed to be Christians but opposed to his appointments as against their faith were coming from. He also distanced himself, from the allegations that he lobbied to be the running mate of the APC presidential campaign candidate Ahmed Bola Tinubu.
And 4 of the children who were abducted on a Kaduna-bound train in March have been released. The children were abducted alongside their parents and other passengers when the terrorists bombed the rail track and gunned down some persons. In a statement on Wednesday, Tukur Mamu, Kaduna-based publisher who negotiated the release of some of the passengers, said the children and their parents were released after the intervention of Sheikh Ahmed Gumi. Different captives were released over a period of 4 months. The names of the 6 family members that were released are Abubakar Idris Garba, who is the father of the 4 kids, his wife Mariam Abubakar Bobbo, and their eldest son Ibrahim Abubakar Garba, who is 10 years old. Others include Fatima Abubakar Garba, who is 7, Imran Abubakar Garba, 5 years old, and the youngest Zainab Abubakar, who is just 1.5 years old.
Moving on, 1 month after Sadiq, one of the sons of the elder statesman Ango Abdullahi, was released from captivity, bandits have adopted the daughter-in-law of the chairman Northern Elders Forum. The elder statesman confirmed this to Daily Trust on Wednesday, saying the victims' 4 children were also adopted. Sources told Daily Trust that bandits invaded Yakawada village in Giwa local government area of Kaduna State on Tuesday night and immediately stormed the residence of Alhaji Rilwanu Saidu, the village head. Daily Trust gathered that after adopting the village head's immediate family members, they also kidnapped some victims at the residence of the monarch's neighbor. 3 people who sustained injuries in the attack are said to be receiving treatment at the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital, Zaria.
Now that's the wrap on the headlines for this morning. We'll take a few reports now. Pioneer Non-Interest Bank and the leading financial service provider, Jais Bank, is seeking to sustain partnership with Media Trust Group towards growing its business frontiers. Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the bank, Hassan Usman, led top management staff of the bank on a courtesy visit to the media outfit. Musa Luka reports.
The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Hassan Usman, said the courtesy visit was aimed at solidifying the relationship between the 2 institutions and to congratulate the management on their new appointment. He expressed satisfaction on the job of Media Trust in doing, especially being the eyes, voice, and the ears of the people.
From Jais, you have a partner, an institution that you also help to create, even if not as actively as you have created the Daily Trust TV, but also a contribution that we cherish in Jais. We also cherish your continuous patronage, because Daily Trust is one of our valued customers, as not just a shareholder, but a valued customer that patronizes the organization on a very continuous basis.
Mr. Hassan spoke on the bank's 10th anniversary, their journey as non-interest bank in Nigeria, and how it has contributed positively to the financial growth in the economy. Receiving the delegation, the management of Media Trust, led by the Group Chief Executive Officer Munir Gwarzo, appreciated Jais Bank for their visit and their services to the company, and assures the bank that Trust Media has strategized to satisfy the demands of their customers.
Even within the company, within the management, we have done some restructuring. Some strategic departments have been created to sharpen our service delivery. And that's why you see us now having a new logo, and very soon we're going to be having a lot of adverts. We want to continue to be partners with you, and we want to play a very important role in your anniversary.
Usman also explained that the bank is dedicated toward financing some major sectors in the country that can boost the economy of the nation.
We've been financing many sectors, including housing, delivery, agriculture, commerce, and manufacturing, sectors that are very, very important to the growth of the economy.
The Group Chief Executive Officer assures the bank of the company's full support and hope to work closely with the bank toward improving the economy. Musa Luka, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Moving on, as terrorists advanced towards areas that were hitherto peaceful, modifying tactics and strategies, Kankia residents want government to adopt new measures in fighting criminality. This is coming few days after terrorists attacked Kankia town, where they separately adopted a housewife and 2 children from the community. Trust TV, Abdullah Yamadi reports.
Kankia town is the headquarters of Kankia local government area of Katsina State. Terrorists bearing dangerous weapons stormed by Kinkaswa Kankia around 2:45 a.m. on Sunday, smashing walls to gain access into houses of their victims. 3 persons who are still in captivity were abducted during that raid on Sunday night. The terrorists were said to have operated freely for over an hour without any response from security operatives despite distress calls put through to them by the residents.
Suka zo suka balla wancan kohoi suka shiga inda mai daki na take uwa gidan wanda suka da ita.
It was horrifying the way they forced themselves into my house. When I noticed their presence, I scaled my house fence to escape, but they abducted my first wife. The terrorists used diggers to break through the wall of my house to gain access.
Ba waya na fara kiran da na ji switch off. Dama dai na dai ina ta'adda Allah ubangiji ya kubutar da su.
Though there were a series of abductions for ransom and armed robbery cases in the past, the number of attacks in Kankia town have been minimal compared to other neighboring local government areas. Unlike other communities affected by terrorist attacks, Kankia residents are determined not to flee their ancestral homes for the fear of other attacks. They are promising to be more organized to assist security operatives to confront the terrorists head-on.
The
attackers caught us unaware. Many residents were scared upon hearing sporadic gunshots that night. I couldn't sleep throughout that night because of the fear of attack. Worried by the situation, stakeholders here are saying the well-coordinated attack wouldn't have been successful without credible information from informants. However, authorities are saying they are taking steps to forestall reoccurrence of the ugly attack.
You see, even in that Kankia attack, it's not that our men were not there. We went there, in this fight we are planning, we have come with formidable strategies in dealing with this new modus operandi, which I will not say it here.
As at the time of compiling this report, the suspected terrorists have started contacting families of the abductees, demanding for ransom to secure their release. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Well, we want nothing more than to actually hear about these strategies the security agencies are coming up with. Yes, actually, and we want to see how formidable they actually are when the results start coming in.
I think that is the only measure that the average Nigerian have of whatever you call it, fantastic, formidable, unbeatable.
Exactly.
Whatever language you choose, the Nigerians want to be safe. However you do it, that's your business. That's why you are paid. That is why you are retained by the Nigerian people. Ours is not for you to tell us the strategy. Just nip this in the book.
Because no matter how good your strategy is on paper, or no matter how well you try to sell it, if it doesn't bring the desired results, then
it's simply not working.
It's not worth the time of the day. It's quite unfortunate. Well, anyway, let's move on now. Taxi drivers and traders at the Regasa railway station want government to hasten the rescue of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack victims to enable train services to resume. Now, they said the suspension of the train services resulted in the loss of many jobs, as many families find it difficult to survive. The report.
This place used to be very busy with passengers, traders, and taxi drivers. But for over months now, the place has been deserted and many jobs lost due to the suspension of train service by the Nigerian Railway Corporation after terrorists attacked Kaduna-Abuja train, abducted many, and killed some. Taxi drivers who convey arriving passengers from the station to different destinations are almost idle as patronage has fallen to almost zero level. The suspension of train services has paralyzed our business here. We are in hardship. Some of us had to relocate to other places in search of jobs. The place is deserted as no business activity is taking place. We find it difficult to get food as there are no passengers to convey. Yakubu Abubakar is a tea and bread seller at the Rigasa railway station. He once employed 6 people prior to the suspension of train services, but now he can barely cater for his family. About 95% of traders left this place, although some people do come here to while away time and go back home. I used to have 6 people that helped me manage my business, but now I manage it alone because I can't pay them. They have to leave. They appeal to the government to hasten the rescue of the remaining train attack passengers and secure the train route to enable train service to resume so that their businesses can bounce back. We want the government to make more effort in bringing back the train service so that our business will bounce back. We appeal to the government to save our source of livelihood by bringing back the train service and also rescue the remaining victims still in captivity. We appeal to the government to devise means of negotiating with the abductors of the train passengers so that our business will revamp. The resumption of train service is expected to rekindle hopes in many households at Rigasa community and beyond as business activities will be revamped. Bella Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
And moving on, floods have rendered many homes in the Dawakin Kudun local government area of Kano State homeless. More than 6,000 persons have been displaced by flood in the state. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibril reports from one of the villages with devastating effects of the flood.
For the past 35 years, the people of Shuawa village in Dawakin Kudu local government area of Kano State have been living in fear of losing their homes, especially during rainy season. They lack proper drainage and waterways to prevent heavy downpour from overpowering their mud houses. The people built this retaining wall so that the water will be able to pass through here, behind their houses. Unfortunately, it overpowers them and entered the houses. So as I'm talking to you now, all their houses in this village have been touched by this flood disaster. In fact, there is no single house in this village that was not affected by the flood disaster in one way or the other. And any more heavy rainfall may likely destroy this entire community. Sheikh Husani and several others are now coming to terms with the destruction caused by the recent flood and windstorm. We have never seen this type of disaster throughout our lives. It's a kind of lesson to us because I lost everything from my clothes, food items, and many other property. Virtually all their houses in this village were affected. The people are now seeking refuge in a nearby mosque and villages. They say their food items are gone, farmland destroyed, and properties worth millions of naira lost. Our major problem is the lack of drainage system. Before now, the drainage allows us to control the flood, but over time, it has gone. Now you can see that we have lost everything in this village. We have no place to settle our family at the moment. According to a recent report by the Kano State Emergency Management Agency, A total of 6,417 people were displaced across Kano State, and that effort is ongoing to provide relief materials to the affected victims.
Item we brought is rice, beans, mattress, cement, zinc nail, vegetable oil, pillows, and other items which we handed over to the chairman, local emergency management committee of the local government to distribute it to these 4 victims.
For the people of these communities, the hardship caused by the flood is unbearable, and that unless something is done to assist them, they may have nowhere else to stay. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And as the general election of 2023 approaches, youth have been charged to abstain from all forms of immoral behavior. Now, instead, stakeholders urge them to take responsibility of building a prosperous Nigeria by electing leaders with proven integrity who will bring the expected development. From Yola, Salis Lawan reports.
The countdown is well underway for what will be the 7th general elections since the return to democracy in 1999. This represented 23 years of unbroken democracy, the longest period in the country's history. However, stakeholders are calling on youth to desist from being used as political targets by unscrupulous politicians for their selfish gains. They said now is the time for far-reaching sensitization campaigns to educate electorates on the importance of exercising their franchise in an honest manner, shunning violence.
But I'm happy today that people have realized money politics will take us nowhere. They have deliberately commercialized the political process so that people like me, you and others who has the knowledge, the experience, the integrity not to participate. Today, we are talking to ourselves. We are talking to ourselves directly. What is our problem? And what are the solutions? Our problem is to get the right people there, even if they don't even have the resources. You know, integrity is more than money. If today you elect somebody because you believe in him, that yes, this man has the knowledge, this man has the experience, he is a very good person, he has been tested and trusted, he is a man of integrity, then I believe we will be there.
On their parts, the youth stressed the importance of education in any country. They said for any country to develop, there has to be a good system of education in place. Therefore, they call on the leaders to give priority to education.
We have realized our mistakes as youths in this country. Look at our universities closed for over 5 months. Actually, we suffered more than ever.
2023 election, we must ensure that Nigeria get it right by voting those who we believe will squarely address challenges and bring the needed development of the country.
I'm calling on my fellow youths to avoid being misused by some politicians as their political dogs, because it is obvious they only use us and dump after election, whereas we suffer, they enjoy alone with their loved ones.
Nigeria may be celebrating its longest run of uninterrupted democracy. However, stakeholders believed that choosing competence and integrity will give the nation the desired outcome. From Yola, Salis Lawan, Trust TV News.
And that is a wrap on our report this morning. We will take a short breather. When we return, the show continue. Please stay with us.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Daybreak on Thrust Television. We will now move on to our first discussion this morning. The FCT Election Petition Tribunal last week nullified the elections of the incumbent chairman of Abuja Municipal Area Council, AMAC, Christopher Zaka Meikalangu of the People's Democratic Party, and his Abaji Area Council counterpart, Abubakar Umar Abdullahi of the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC. The judge said the APC candidate in AMAC scored the highest number of vote cast, more than the PDP candidate, owing to the cancellation of results at some polling units across the 12 political wards during the last council polls. The case is on appeal, so our focus is on the immediate reactions from the two political parties who are well represented here in the studio. For now, we have Honorable Emmanuel Iang, he's a member of the PDP, and the supervisory councillor from the special duties from the Abuja Municipal Area Council. And Emmanuel, you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me here.
I can assure you that we've reached out to the APC and we have gotten assurance that we will be joined on this show by a member of the APC, Muhammad Kabir Abubakar, whom you understand is still on his way here. As this conversation progresses, we are sure that he would join us and provide a balanced narrative to whatever PDP guest will be saying in the studio. It's a pleasure to have you join us once again this morning.
Thank you for having me, like I realized.
We have seen the pronouncement of the court and the basis for some of those pronouncements. How would you react to that judgment, especially?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank all of you for having me here and for giving us opportunity to air out. I'm also, you've just mentioned that a colleague of mine will be here from the APC to balance up whatever it said here. The tribunal started like it did and ended last week, Friday. The outcome of that tribunal is unacceptable to any of us. It has been rejected, and that is why we are in the appeal tribunal. First, election was conducted on the 12th of February using the beavers, and result was declared, and the candidate of the People's Democratic Party was declared the winner. Now, while in the tribunal, it was expected that the APC raised the complaint which they felt was not okay. 12 polling units that the APC raised at the tribunal. And all the 12 polling units, INEC was subpoenaed to appear based on those areas that the APC raised issues. They were in the tribunal. They came with their results and the report from the beavers on what trespassed at each of these polling units that they raised issues, 12 of them. They tendered it at the tribunal. The PDP invited its agent from the 12 polling unit as well that the APC raised issues. The PDP too came with a certified true copy of result collected at each of these polling units and also brought to the court. It tallies with what the INEC brought to the tribunal. Like I earlier said, the beavers was used for that election. Now, the APC was to prove on the issues of the 12 polling unit they raised on normalities that they felt must have happened. Unfortunate none of the agents of the APC appeared in the tribunal. None. I should be quoted and corrected if there was one. None appeared to testify that those figures they claim were either counseled or were being manipulated for them to come and speak about it, because they were the ones at the polling unit and they signed the result sheet. Unfortunate again, those that were appearing to testify on issues that has to do with this polling unit that they raised issues were supervisors that is unknown to the law, unknown to INEC. If you may recall, before the election, INEC wrote to all the political parties asking them to submit lists of their agents to INEC. INEC then issued each of these polling agents with an ID card from INEC. So every political party that participated in that election had an ID card from INEC in each of the parties and each of the polling units. None of these people who appeared with a result that was unknown to testify about these 12 polling units were agents. That is one. Secondly, the APC brought the police and civil defense who were there at the polling unit to observe and ensure that there is peace and order in all the polling centers that elections were conducted. They were not directly or indirectly involved. Rather, their duties at the polling unit were to maintain peace and order. Normally, in an election like that just happened, after the result, the presiding officers in each of these polling units tears out result sheets to the party agents, the security agencies that were there, and every other persons that all those sheets will go across to, came with these sheets that they claimed they collected at each of these polling units, 12 of the polling units that were raised, brought to the court. And they were questioned, those documents you were holding, are you the maker of those documents? They said no. They now asked them, the lawyer of the PDP asked them, were you directly involved in the election? They said their duty there was to maintain peace and order. And these were the election result sheets given to them at the end of the election. Now, they dropped it at the court. The civil defense did the same. They also came. They were also asked similar questions. They also answered in affirmative, like I earlier said. What actually happened? The tribunal jettisoned all that the INEC brought, even the Beavers report, but rather we're more interested to pick from the result that was brought with the Nigerian police, the civil defense, and the supervisors that appeared at the tribunal. The results that were brought by INEC were not the one that the tribunal, and I wish you are able to lay hands on the judgment of the tribunal. They never or did not make use of the subpoenaed INEC that appeared to supply the tribunal with the informations that they had as the maker of the result, because they conducted that election using the Beavers.
So now with the analysis of the tribunal process that you've just given us right now, how confident are you with your appeal, the current appeal that you've lodged right now, that the perceived wrongs will be righted?
Yes, we have that confidence. We're in a society where we can always have the good people, even the bad people, even the good, the bad, and the ugly in the entire society. So it applies to every other society. And we strongly believe that if a wrong thing is done at the lower tribunal, and that was why the Electoral Act envisaged that if somebody disagreed or is not comfortable with what came out at the lower tribunal, you have a window of appealing. Let me give you a typical example. Before the present chairman was sworn in, there was a judgment elongating the tenure of the former chairman. And we went to court to challenge that elongation at the court of High Court. What did the High Court did through the Chief Judge of FCT? Reverse back that case to the same judge that gave the initial judgment. that he should retry the case, we all went back at Kubwa, where the first judgment was given by the same judge. I am here to tell you that the same judge that gave the initial judgment retreated that judgment, revised himself, and said the judgment he gave was in error and the court was misled. Now, if the PDP, for whatsoever happened, or the candidate that was elected did not approach the court again, the first judgment he gave would have stand. The tenure elongation for 1 year would have stand. But because we felt it was wrong, we seek redress and later reversed back to him to retry the case, and eventually he gave a counter judgment from the initial. And that was why the present chairman was sworn in. So what I'm saying is that the purpose of having an appeal, we have an appeal, is for you to vindicate whatsoever you felt went wrong at the lower tribunal. And we are confident that men in the appeal tribunal have been persons who have handled series of cases, experienced as well. So we strongly believe, by the grace of God, that at the appeal tribunal, justice will be seen to be done.
Okay. Just for clarification, is INEC joining you on the appeal, given that they have a position that they feel?
Yes, INEC is also, INEC is also in the appeal.
Okay.
Yes.
The other thing is, so what is the situation of things right now? Have you filed a stay of execution, or you have immediately complied with the position of the tribunal before going on appeal?
Yes, we did the both.
Okay.
Notice of appeal and also stay of execution.
So right now the PDP candidate as chairman subsists as we speak?
As I speak to you, I'm still in the office.
Okay.
Yes.
And we know this applies to both Amak and Abaji. So what's the situation in Abaji?
Well, the situation in Abaji, like the judgment of Abaji came, the judgment of Abaji had to do with the candidature of the APC.
Okay.
Now, what the judgment says was that as at the time of election, on the 12th of February, APC had no candidate.
Can you explain that whole contest and scenario?
Yes, the contest is this. There was a primaries in the APC, and there was a bone of contention among the aspirants in their party. And along the line, one of them went to court and said that he was supposed to be the candidate, not this other person. So they were in court. As at on the 12th of February, no candidate was known to INEC. It was after 12th of February, I think the court they went to finally gave judgment that gave the present chairman of Abaji, who is from the APC, opportunity to be sworn in as the candidate-elect. So PDP felt that it was wrong. You cannot have your internal problems, and that comes to affect other political parties. This is an internal problem which ought to have been settled by them. PDP had no issues about them, whether they have their internal problem or not. We went to election. The situation PDP faced was that two persons from the APC were campaigning for chairmanship at the same time in Abaji, which is against the Electoral Act. Two of them.
But just so that our viewers are clear at home, like we said earlier before this conversation started, we were to have a representative of the APC in the studio. As I speak to you up to this moment, he's still giving us confirmation that he's on his way, just so it doesn't appear that we seem to be giving voice to just one party in the contention. But coming back to you, Mr. Eyang, Nigerians will contend, well, however correct that information is, I don't know, that in our political systems, we seem to vote for party, not the candidate. And it would seem correct that the people had chose the party, irrespective of who was on the ballot, and not the candidate. Is that position clear? I mean, is that position correct? Right?
Now, like I told you, two candidates or two aspirants of the APC were campaigning. Now, I may like, for example, as far as that election was concerned, PDP had one candidate, while APC were having two aspirants. Fine. What that implies is that
let's assume 100 persons are expected to vote, and maybe 20 persons like one of the aspirants of the APC. Maybe another 30 or 26 or 28 like the other APC candidate, while the PDP person, let's assume, like had maybe 20 or 30 persons that likes him, and similar to other political parties that were in the contest. Now, the 20 that likes the other APC aspirant, and maybe the 25 that likes this other APC candidate, were all voting for APC because of the candidate, not the party, as it were, because they were individuals. The ballot paper did not carry pictures of anybody, but rather carried the logo of a political party. And since these two of them were campaigning at the same time, definitely you should expect that forces from this side and this side were to come together. It's a similar thing almost happened in Amak. But as God would like it, judgment came on Thursday, and election was on Saturday. Suleiman Gwagwa and Mohammed Karishi were also campaigning until Thursday, when the judgment from the Supreme Court came. So there wouldn't have been any way APC would have won that election. Why? Because whether I like it or not, there may be some persons who are members of the APC who would have preferred Suleiman, but along the line, the Supreme Court gave it to the man from Karishi. It is just natural that somebody will pick offense. That, okay, fine, if it's like that, I can go any other way, or I can decide not to come out to vote. That was exactly what happened.
All right, now, so coming back to the Amak tribunal judgment, there were reports, or should I say, there were reports of some ruckus at the after the pronouncement was made. There was a report of some ruckus. There was some youth actually engaged in some sort of violence or protests or celebration. It was all convoluted. What's your perspective on that?
Exactly what you just said was exactly what happened.
Okay.
But before I say exactly about that, let me raise an issue.
Okay.
Sir, judgment was given on Friday, said about 2, 3 thereabout. So it was not up to 10 minutes when that judgment was given that we saw it on posts from our friends in the APC, posting orders of the same court. What was the order? Asking the INEC to issue a certificate of return to the APC guy. Asking the Honorable Minister to immediately swear in the APC man. Also, retrieving the certificate of return from the PDP candidate that was sworn in as the chairman. Not up to 10 minutes that judgment was given. But as I speak with you, since Friday, the PDP and its candidate has been in that same tribunal almost on a daily basis with their lawyers to get a judgment copy of the same tribunal that delivered on Friday. If we have gotten it, then it must have been yesterday night. Because as at 2 p.m. yesterday, we were yet to get a copy. But here we are. The same document we were looking for, the APC was already having it, putting it on Facebook. Now, because of that judgment, some persons who never understood the background of that judgment, because the same Electoral Act gave us an opportunity of 14 days leverage to appeal. And that same judgment said that a certificate of return be given to the APC candidate. Now, the jubilation was that the man must be sworn in immediately. If you felt that judgment was a good one and it favored you, fine. Which means you are coming to inherit Abuja Municipal Area Council as the new headship. Why going to Amak to destroy things, a place you are coming to inherit? That was very true. But we thank the security agencies for quick intervention. But for anything that was within that gate, within the gate of Area 10, Abuja Municipal, was destroyed. Because the gate was quickly locked, nobody was allowed in, nobody was allowed to come out for that period until the security took full control. Now, what we are saying is that the position of the law is very clear. And again, you can appeal with or without the judgment. And that was what we quickly did. That same Friday, when we saw this post on Facebook already, the orders were already on Facebook. While we tried till night when we left that court premises to also see if we can get that same judgment, that we did not get. We quickly start preparing for appeal on that same Friday. Then on Saturday morning, I and others were all there to ensure that we effect the possible notice of appeal and also the issue of stay of execution. So that was exactly what happened.
Thank you very much. We've been talking to Mr. Emmanuel Yang from the PDP, who has been giving us the PDP side of things with regards to the nullified elections of Amak and that of the Abaji Area Council. We will take a short break. When we return, this conversation continues. Please stay with us.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us on Daybreak on Trust Television. We have been discussing the issues of the AMAC nullified elections by the court, and we've been talking to Honorable Emmanuel Yang, who is a member of the PDP and the Supervisory Councillor from Special Duties of the Abuja Municipal Area Council. Let me also put it on record that we are expecting Mohammed Kabir Abubakar, a member of the APC, to also join this conversation. And up till this moment, we are still receiving assurance that he would be here before this show wraps. We've been hearing the side of things, from the perspective of the PDP concerning the developments in the Abuja Municipal Area Council, as well as the Abaji area councils, the issues under contention, and the way forward. Mr. Yang, have we been able to get a date of the appeal as it is right now?
No, for now we've not gotten a date, but the paperwork and the tidying up of all the needed documents is being done by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate. And we are waiting for the tribunal to give us a date.
So while we wait, what next for supporters of the party?
That same day, that same Friday, when that incident happened at Abuja Municipal Area Council, we immediately released a press statement asking all our supporters, those in PDP and even those who voted for us on the 12th of February, who are not members of any political party, to please remain calm, and pleaded with all of us and every other person not to be provoked by the recent incident at the tribunal and that happened, the security breach at the gate of Abuja Municipal Area Council. We pleaded with Nigerians not to take laws into their hands and allow the due process of law to take its course. That we did. And the chairman has been preaching this peace, immediately also summoned the graded chiefs and non-graded chiefs to also plead with them and ask them to go back to their domain and preach the same gospel that he has already notified for appeal and all that, and also stay of execution. So for now, he's still the executive chairman of AMAC, and that they should please allow peace to reign. Considering the security situation in the country, we should not do anything that will aggravate the situation we're already facing.
All right, I have two questions. The first one is quite simple. The stay of execution that you actually request, has it been granted?
Yes.
Okay, so you went to the tribunal,
yes.
Results didn't go your way, you went on appeal. What happens if the appeal doesn't go your way? Is there a plan B for the party?
Well, as you are all aware, the area council tribunal has lower tribunal and the appeal tribunal. It ends there. Whatever comes there, that's the will of God. We'll take it in good faith. But we are aware and we know that we had a genuine vote that gave us that victory and that the beavers was under test. And again, what we as a person want to say, 2023 is just here. And if you may recall, the only hope that has made a lot of persons to go out now to register is that assurance that their vote will count. With the introduction of beavers, people are becoming to have confidence in the electoral process that whatsoever the beavers captures. Sir, let me also inform you, to be fair to INEC, they did some of those things they have been telling us when we thought maybe it was just a mere say. We saw it. At the collation center of the area council, each of the ward results, you see it on screen. Even before results from those polling units came, it was already on screen because they were all transferred right from the polling units. I was also a member of the returning officers team for the party. We were two of us, myself and other of my colleagues, at Karosite INEC office. When we got there, shockingly and surprisingly, the big television that was there, we were seeing everything. We were looking at our own, the result we were having, and see, that was even before results start coming in. We were already seeing it, we were checking. Now, what does that imply is that the idea of the process of taking one result sheet to the collation center at the ward level, somebody can snatch it or do anything, dies. Because while all of you are there, including the agent and whatsoever, the result will be transferred immediately there. Now, we are believing that what has come out from the lower tribunal, good and fine, is also a lesson to all the lawyers for wherever mistakes came out or whatever was to be done which was not done, all of that will be corrected, and possibly the beavers report too will be needed as well, where all of these things will be. Let me be frank with you. Before the tribunal commenced fully, there was a directive from INEC, from the tribunal, that INEC allows the APC to come and check the ballots from ward to ward. We as a party also applied that we want to be there while they are carrying out these checks and photocopying and all of that. And we're all there. None of this report, based on what took place at that investigation between the APC, the PDP, the INEC, none of this was brought to the tribunal.
Okay. Finally, before we go, what is the situation with Abaji? In this case, with AMAC, you have appealed. With Abaji, have your person been sworn in, or have the APC also approached the tribunal?
Yes, the PDP candidate in Abaji has not been sworn in.
Okay.
Just like I earlier said, the Abaji candidate of the APC too have also appealed the tribunal and also seek a stay of execution. So that's the position. And that is why, if you may recall I think either on Monday, where the APC supporters were at Area 11, insisting that the minister swear them in. Unfortunately, there are very intelligent persons, which are my friends in the APC. You're asking the minister to swear you in without a certificate of return from INEC. Because INEC has been served with a notice of appeal and stay of execution. So the possibility for the certificate to be issued was not there.
Interesting. What a way to bring this conversation to a close. Let me state here again for the records that we were supposed to have been joined on this show by a member of the APC, Mohammed Kabir Abubakar, who was supposed to have provided the APC side of things with regards to this conversation. Be that as it may, I want to thank you. We want to thank you, Honorable Emmanuel Eyang, a member of the PDP and Supervisory Councillor from the Special Duties of the Abuja Municipal Area Council, for making it to the studio and providing the information that we requested as much as possible. We hope that whenever we call you again, you will find the time to be here as this conversation continue. Thank you for making it.
I thank you as well for giving me the opportunity to be here. And please, whenever the APC man is ready, I'm also ready.
Interesting. Very good commitment there. It's been a wonderful show, if you like, today. We're looking at a myriad of issues as it borders on our national polity. If you have missed any part of this conversation, you can hook on to our social media handles from YouTube to Facebook and Instagram to get a recap of all that has been discussed today. Until we come your way again, please stay healthy, stay safe, and be a good citizen. I am Sunday Michael Ogu.
All right, it's been a wonderful ride right here on Daybreak on Trust TV. So why not let's do this all again tomorrow. I am Ibrahim Yusuf.